Good morning. I am going to read a selection from a book called Getting to Peace by William Ury, a book given to me or handed to me by Rob Fagerland a few weeks ago. And this is a section about the inner third side. So often in peacemaking, you have two sides conflicted, and there's the third side is like mediators or a tribal circle or whatever, your family that can help conflicted people come together. The inner third side is looking at inside, which I'll read about. Imprisoned for 27 years, treated harshly by whites, Nelson Mandela somehow found it within himself to forgive his white captors, the oppressors of his race. I was impressed when I heard him speak about his white adversaries, that his voice and demeanor betrayed no rancor. And while this inner change of heart was the solitary soul-searching act of an individual, it did not stop there. For in the hope of reconstructing a South Africa in which both blacks and whites could live together in peace and prosperity, Mandela succeeded in persuading first his colleagues and then his people to tread the same difficult path of forgiveness and reconciliation. An individual act of spirit thereby became an emotional shift among millions, a political force with far-reaching effects. On the other side of the divide, F.W. de Klerk, previously an arch defender of the apartheid system, came to realize it had been a terrible mistake, resulting in unfair discrimination and the domination of the majority by the minority. In acknowledging the error publicly, he helped his own people, rigidly attached to the old ways, accept the painful necessity of surrendering much of their power and privilege to the Black majority. The surprising magnitude and speed of transformation in South Africa cannot be explained by a change of mind alone. A change in heart and spirit was required, because it is not as tangible as an outsider or an insider. The, quote, inner third side is harder to describe. However nebulous, its power cannot be denied, because in the final analysis, deep-seated conflict is resolved largely through the emotional, psychological, and spiritual work of the parties. The third side manifests itself as a kind of conscience within the single individual engaged in conflict. It is the voice that urges us to heal old grievances. It is the capacity to listen to the other side and show empathy. It is the impulse to respect the basic human needs of all. The inner third side instinctively values life and abhors violence. In World War II, the US Army was astonished to learn that at least 3 out of every 4 riflemen trained to kill and commanded to do so could not bring themselves to pull the trigger when they could actually see the person they were about to shoot. Amazingly, this held true even when the individual rifleman himself was in danger of being shot. The riflemen refrained from shooting as long as they thought they were not being observed by their commanding officer. Psychiatrists found that the chief cause of combat fatigue was not fear of being killed, but fear of killing. Colonel S.L.A. Marshall, who interviewed the infantrymen, concluded, "It is therefore reasonable to believe that the average and normally healthy individual, the man who can endure the mental and physical stresses of combat, still has such an inner and usually unrealized resistance towards killing a fellow man that he will not of his own volition take life if it is possible to turn away from that responsibility. Though it is impossible that he may ever analyze his own feelings so searchingly as to know what is stopping his own hand, his hand is nonetheless stopped. At the vital point, he becomes a conscientious objector, unknowing." The inner resistance to violence is a well-kept secret. For interestingly, when interviewed, each rifleman believed that he was the only one disobeying the orders to shoot. While this resistance to violence can obviously be weakened, it can also be strengthened. Therein lies the potential of awakening the inner third side. Thank you.